Point out that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 608th edition of Energy Week with George Harvey and Nancy Wolfe, the amazing Nancy Wolfe. I used to say the amazing Tom Fennell. Tom Fennell was kind of amazing. Now it's Nancy Wolfe who's amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. In a good way. Amazing in a good way.
Good.
As opposed to some people around who are amazing in a bad way.
Right. It's
and I kind of expect that some of them are going to be in changing circumstances in the next few years.
I'm intrigued.
As everybody discovers how truly amazing they are.
Truly.
Okay, this is Energy Week, and it is a news aggregation site show that takes material from my blog, geoharvey.com. You can go there and click on the calendar for the date that you want to find an article so you can read it, or you can go to the description of the show ends with a tiny URL link, and if you click on that, you're going to wind up going to the site where we prepare for the show. This show starts with news on the 16th of January, which is a Thursday, and ends with Wednesday, the 22nd of January. We are doing the show on the 23rd of January. And let's start.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. We have an article from Clean Technica, and that car is a Volkswagen ID7.
Yeah.
They wouldn't call it an ID7.
Oh?
No, well, they'd pronounce the letters in German.
ID7. Right. So with this headline is that this Volkswagen ID7 goes 941 kilometers, also known as 585 miles, on a single charge.
Single charge. Yeah. This is 5 times what was available only a few years ago. The Volkswagen ID7 is an extremely capable, cool, and compelling car. You know, I'm going to disagree with that. I don't think it's cool. I don't think it's compelling. I hate cars. Even if they're electric. That deserves more attention than it gets. Well, electric cars are more acceptable. Now the company is pulling a little bit more attention. An unmodified standard VW ID7 Pro S just drove 941 kilometers, which is 585 miles on a single charge. And that just sounds incredibly boring to me. Can you imagine getting into a car and driving 585 miles with the sole idea of finding out where you're going to be when it runs out of electricity? What do? 585 miles.
I know, it's like driving from Vermont to DC. It's a long one. Or more. It's longer than that. It's like driving to Virginia, further in Virginia.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. I should mention that Nancy's family lives in Washington, D.C. And actually, I worked in Washington, D.C. for a while. And I found it weird.
It's a very weird place. I think of it as 2 places. I think of it as Washington and D.C.
Yes.
They're just totally separate.
Well, yeah.
Except when they collide.
Yeah. Well, people don't realize that.
They don't.
They don't.
They just think Washington. That's it.
Yeah. which is tagged with DC because it's got to have something after the name.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people will think you're talking about the state.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, shall we go on?
Yeah, let's go on.
Okay, let's go on.
Interesting one.
I have to get back to where I was. There we go.
Yeah.
This is a picture of a launch in China. The article comes from Clean Technica.
China has plans for a gigantic solar array in space.
A report by Live Science says Chinese scientists have announced a plan to build an enormous solar power station in space that is 1 kilometer wide, that's 0.6 of a mile, and will beam continuous energy back to Earth as microwaves. It will be 10 times as efficient as land-based array of solar panels. This worries me.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too, a lot.
A lot. I don't know what could get that array tilted or something, which would send the microwaves to the wrong place. But if you sent those microwaves accidentally to the wrong place, which could happen, it's not likely because things in space don't.
Yeah. I also think about, I don't know, space is also not that environmentally friendly either.
You mean people won't do well there?
No, I mean creating all these materials for space.
We've got a problem already because of all the stuff that's in orbit.
Yeah.
Junk.
Yeah,
Space
and
junk.
all the manufacturing plants of how we made this stuff caused so many people, illness and.
Yes, and this space station is not going to be stationary. It has to move in such a way that it doesn't go into the Earth's shadow, and it's going to have to be in geosynchronous orbit. And that combination is a trick. And it's going to be sending its microwaves to a moving target, which means it's going to have to be in motion constantly, I think. Not sure about that. But this does not strike me as a altogether good thing.
No, I wrote no, also WTF.
Okay.
That's my reaction to that. It is. I understand the thought that this could be good.
Yeah.
But there are so many problems with it. The list goes on.
Did I tell you about the calculation that I did of how much agricultural land would have to be used in order to power the United States entirely from agricultural land using solar panels?
No.
Okay, let me tell you. Because this, I think, has to do with this story. I thought about this thing. People have been complaining about converting agricultural land to solar power and saying this is a very bad thing. We need to preserve our agricultural land, which I agree with. But they're treating it as though agrivoltaics doesn't exist and just basically arguing against solar panels. And I thought, okay, what would happen if we got 100% of our energy, or as close as we could get to it, almost 100%, from solar panels that were put on agricultural land with no remediation, no agrivoltaics, no being careful to preserve agriculture? What would that mean to the amount of agricultural land used for food in the United States? So I did a calculation and I came to the conclusion that it would take 29 million acres, which is a fair amount of land. I mean, it's bigger than Vermont. It's actually a lot bigger than Vermont. It's more like the size of Virginia. But this is a fair amount of agriculture. And then I went through the calculations of what that would actually mean and came to the shocking result that it would mean that the amount of land we would have that is used for agriculture and used for growing food would increase by 2 million acres. And the reason is because we're using 31 million acres to grow corn for ethyl alcohol, and we wouldn't have to do that anymore. Which,
well, there's another documentary, the Corn King. I mean, it's just, that's a whole other, that's a whole other aspect of the agriculture discussion.
I have to check this. So I wrote an email to, what is his name? Mark Jacobson. The Stanford professor.
Yeah.
He's a really good guy.
Yeah.
And he sent me an email back that said, no, George, you're wrong. He said, you underestimated the efficiency of solar panels, and the result is that you're not going to save 2 million acres. It's going to be much more than that.
There you go.
You know, there I go. So why would we send something into space when we've got a world, you know, we've got a huge amount of land in the world that we aren't using for anything, and putting solar panels on it, well, it should be protected, some of it, so that turtles can wander around and, you know, but turtles might do better under solar panels. Tomatoes do, potatoes do, peppers do.
I mean, you think about shade.
Yeah, exactly.
Just for,
Now, the Chinese have got lots and lots of land that isn't used.
Yep.
And if they're not going to use it for solar panels, they're probably, it is used actually. It's used to dump toxic materials that people want to get rid of.
Yeah.
So I think we've got to be under better control before we start putting.
And all those farming communities are out there, like those very poor farmers out in those areas. It's like, it's,
we just have to come to better solutions. And I think that this thing of putting solar panels in space is extremely expensive.
It reminds me, honestly, of Musk.
Of Musk, Elon Musk?
Because he had stated that we should put our nuclear waste in space.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that because it's like, oh, what do we do here? Why would we do anything on Earth? Let's outsource this.
Yes. Using SpaceX, which means that he gets money for every time it's launched.
Well, yeah. Well, of course that's a given. That's a given.
He's going to have his own version of Price Anderson before he starts this.
Right. Yeah.
So if one of these things happens to fall into someplace like Austin, Texas, you know, he's not going to get sued for everybody just because he's covered everybody with plutonium, you know. Okay. We should go on.
Yeah, that was we did a little
That was
version.
a long one.
Yes.
We have a picture of the Palisades fire here and an article from ABC News. ABC News is the American broadcast company. It is not the Australian, which I also use, but I call the American News and I call the Australian ABC.
As soon as I read this, I checked in with a friend of mine. But the headline is how LA fires impact farmers and agricultural industry.
Yeah. And what did your friend say?
You know, she had smoke inhalation, and she doesn't even live anywhere near, she doesn't live near LA. She's north. And reading this, I'm like, well, that area that you live in is an agricultural, that is the agricultural industry on the Central Coast. That's the agricultural industry. It's all around St. Louis Obispo. Like that whole area is full of that. So this made me think exactly of what those folks are facing right now.
Yeah. While raging fires, persistent smoke, and damaging winds continue to plague residents of Los Angeles County, farmers across Southern California are also facing the possibility of devastating damage to their crops. One challenge for farmers is air quality. The other is economic. And you know, I've been watching stuff which hasn't appeared in the news, but I have been watching stuff about reclaiming desert. And one of the things that I've been watching, one of the things that I've looked at is the Great Green Wall. Do you know about that? It goes from, I think, Sierra Leone to Kenya. It's 3,000 miles long. They're stopping the southernward movement of the Sahara. And they need $30 billion to finish it, but basically it's picks and shovels and digging half-moon little pits that are 20 feet across to catch water before it runs off. And when they put that in, 3 years later, they have a jungle. Because the water doesn't run off. It gets caught and it goes in as groundwater. We could do that in the United States. And there are people who are doing, first of all, similar things in Australia, but also I think people are starting to look at this, and it gives me a lot of hope that we can actually get out of whatever trouble we get into. We're up to Friday, January 17th, and we have an article from The Guardian.
Yeah. The title is, "It's Going to Be Rough. What Trump's Response to LA Fires Portends."
After this article appeared, he said basically that he was going to hold Los Angeles hostage. But that's an interpretation that I really shouldn't say here. Donald Trump's response to the catastrophic fires in Los Angeles provided a stark prologue to how his administration will likely handle the growing threat of such disasters. Acrimony, brutal deal-making, and a dismissal of a climate crisis that is the cause of the disasters. And in the process of doing this, he said that Governor Newsom should retire because he should take responsibility for these fires.
Which leads to one of the other articles that talk about, yeah.
I don't see any thought behind this.
Of course not. What is the thought? The thought is, I'm going to punish people in LA.
Yeah.
That's it.
For not voting for me.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah.
That's the all the COVID, the way that he felt about COVID, not whatever about that, because it was happening in cities, and he doesn't care about cities at all.
Well, given a slight difference in position, he would. If he were running as a Democrat.
Well, right. Well, he's a chameleon. Just his interest is money and power. That's all.
Yeah. What I have here as a note is the mega drought that has been going on in Los Angeles for most of the 21st century.
Yeah.
Is the worst drought in over 1,200 years, according to this article, and there has been 1/6 of 1 inch of rain since May. It's not a lot of rain.
No.
And that makes it Governor Newsom's fault. There are things that we could do about this. I'm talking about the fact that Los Angeles is dry, and putting swales up on the hills is one thing that would help with this. A swale is a shallow pit, not very wide. Looks like a stream when it's full of water, and it's built in such a way that it's all at the same altitude. So the water coming down a hillside will get caught in the swale, and if the swale fills up, then water will start running down. But it was going to go down that hillside anywhere, and there should be more swales down below. And these swales force a certain amount of water to go into the groundwater, which means that less water is just running out to sea. And the successes that people have had with the Great Green Wall and other things have shown that you can take a desert and turn it into something green and, grow trees instead of cactus and stuff like that. Only there's not a lot of cactus in the Sahara, but you could do that in the United States. And if you did that, we could be changing the climate in a positive direction.
Right. There you go.
So
There you go.
anyway, we're way behind schedule.
Okay.
We're taking twice as much time as we should. Okay, this is a picture of a school bus and an article from Clean Technica.
And more electric buses for Australia.
Yeah, despite stagnant electric car sales, the influx of electric buses is still strong in Australia. The EV market leader is BYD, a Chinese company,
Yes.
which is on a roll both in Australia and elsewhere in the world. Technology advancements and which lead to greater driver and rider comfort are a feature of BYD's new products. And BYD, when Barack Obama left the White House and Donald Trump took over, the increase in electric vehicle sales in China was not really all that evident. While Donald Trump was in the White House, EV sales skyrocketed, and almost 100% of that was China.
Yeah.
I think the last year that Donald Trump was in the White House, I might have that wrong, it might have been later, but Bloomberg did an inventory of American electric buses and found something like 650. And that was at a time when the city of Shenzhen had 17,000.
Yeah.
You know, and we are so far behind. And what they're doing now is BYD is saying, oh, you want to buy a bus? We'll sell it to you for $45,000 or something like that. They can do that because there's no motor in it that is, you know, it doesn't have a gasoline or diesel powered motor. You don't have to have all of the things that goes along with. You don't even need a differential if you don't want to have it. But you don't need, the amount of stuff that you can leave out of the bus is incredible. The one thing that makes electric buses expensive is the batteries. And BYD says, don't worry about the batteries, we'll lease them to you. And then people lease the batteries, and the cost of charging the battery and leasing the battery is less, significantly less than the cost of diesel fuel for a diesel-powered bus. So you find that every step of the way, there's a significant savings in going electric. So China's locked up over half of the bus industry and worldwide, while we sat back and watched it happen. Mm-hmm. Okay. You got anything to say about that?
Honestly, what I have to say is that good for Australia. That's good.
Okay.
It's good for Australia.
Offshore wind farm. And we have an item from Renews.
And it's the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management finalizes fisheries mitigation guidance.
Yeah, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management finalized guidance for mitigating impacts of offshore wind energy projects on commercial and for-hire recreational fisheries. The guidance, informed by public input, creates processes for the offshore wind industry to address potential disruptions to fisheries. This is not really important now because permitted offshore wind farms are going to be allowed to go ahead, but if they don't have permits already, they're not going to get them.
Right.
So, but you know, they've got the system set up.
Yeah, my reaction is cooperation is a good thing.
Yeah.
Working with all sorts of people and trying to figure out the right move.
Yeah.
That's a good way of governance.
Yes, that's right. Okay, our next item is from The Cool Down. We have a picture of a solar plant in California.
Yeah, and new research suggests common myth about power outages. I love this one.
Some critics said that the clean energy transition would lead to more blackouts. But California researchers debunked this myth a team found there were no power outages in the state when solar, wind, and hydro supplied 100% of electricity needs for a record 98 out of 116 days in 2024. Mm-hmm. Now, there were 116 consecutive days that they did this test in. So they just started in late winter and they ended in early summer. And that's what they did. But having no power outages, that's significant. And one of the things that I noticed a long time ago was when Germany started increasing dramatically mm-hmm. its dependence on wind and such what, their power outages averaged, I think it was 20 minutes for users before that and 5 minutes after. So, I have a note here. Researchers found that solar, wind, and battery outputs saw incredible growth from 2023 to 2024, increasing 31%, 8%, and 105% respectively. That was 105% in battery growth. In turn, oil and gas use declined by an estimated 40% in the same period. Pardon me. So, should we?
I like debunking, so that's good.
Yeah. Well, debunking sometimes produces results that are no better than what a person is debunking. So
yeah, that's true. That's very true.
You have to be careful about it.
Yeah.
Okay, we have an item from Renews and a picture of a solar array.
And the headline is 2 solar sites enter operation in Brazil.
VH Global Energy Infrastructure has powered up 2 new solar sites in Brazil, bringing its total to 12. The company says the sites will contribute to economic growth and grid improvements while supporting meaningful progress in the company's efforts to reduce carbon emissions. Pardon me. So, anything on that?
My comment is good news.
Yes, that's about what my comment is. Good that we're in agreement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We have an item from Clean Technica. These are PG&E power lines.
Yeah.
That you see.
So this headline is U.S. Department of Energy announces $15 billion loan guarantee to Pacific Gas and Electric Company to expand hydropower generation, battery energy storage, and transmission.
As part of the Investing in America agenda, the U.S. DOE's Loan Programs Office announced closing a $15 billion loan guarantee to PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric. And that's going to be used for the things that you said. Hydropower, battery storage, transmission, and so forth. Go ahead.
I have an issue though.
Yes.
Which is PG&E, weren't they not responsible for the Paradise Fire?
Yes, I think they were. They went into bankruptcy because they had to cover the costs, and it basically wiped them out.
So trust in them for other technologies. What's that about?
Well, for one thing, you've probably got a different management because, that was a serious problem. And what was happening, just so people know, is that when you heat up metal, it usually expands. In the case of copper wire that's being held up and the steel wires that are holding it up, it means that they lengthen, which means that you have a loop going from one tower to the next. As that loop lengthens, the wire drops, and it would drop into whatever was growing under it. If the trees were tall enough, it would drop to them. And if there was any kind of short circuit there, the trees would catch fire. And that was what caused that. And the reason was because PG&E had not been making a lot of money for years, and they made up for not making money by not doing maintenance.
Yep.
And the maintenance included cutting down the trees, growing under the lines.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, we're up to Sunday, January 9th.
Yeah.
And we have a picture of a power grid in Laos.
Yeah.
And this is theinvestor.vn, which is a site that is in Vietnam.
Yeah, Laos-based 600 megawatt monsoon wind power to export power to Vietnam soon.
The 600 megawatt monsoon wind power project in Laos is getting final phases of construction and will soon be, is reaching final phases of construction and will be exporting electricity to Vietnam soon, according to investor Monsoon Wind Power. The first wind facility in Laos, it is also the biggest in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Well, it's big. I can tell you, I would not want to be a guy working at that height on one of those towers.
I mean, yes, monsoon wind power sounds really intense.
It does.
Sounds very intense.
Yes, it does. Okay, this one has got me rankled.
I know. That's one is.
It's from Clean Technica.
Robot bees from MIT may be the pollinators of the future.
Worried that alternatives to the Earth's climate may wipe out bees, leading to a steep decline in the availability of fruits and vegetables? Fear not. Researchers at MIT say they have successfully created robot bees that can do the job of real bees just as well and maybe better. Isn't that sweet? So you've got a picture there of a hand holding something that I have no idea what that would cost, but my guess is it would.
Oh my God. Yes.
It would not be as cheap as a Raspberry Pi computer. It would probably cost $50 at least, maybe $250. I don't know. Bees don't need money to propagate. All they need is a non-polluted space to propagate in.
Yes.
And if the space is so bad for bees, how is it going to be any good for human beings?
Exactly.
Man.
Creating more problems.
Yeah.
From problems.
What we need to do is do things like ban glyphosate and stuff like that. Ban the insecticides that are used on corn. A conventional cornfield is basically a 6-inch deep, foot deep, or whatever toxic waste dump, as far as I'm concerned. I don't eat corn. I mean, I do eat a little bit of corn, but I don't buy corn on the cob and eat it. I don't think it's good for you. And this ready for Roundup stuff is, and conventional corn, almost all of it is of that type,
right,
with that kind of, and they dump fertilizers on it, but they dump insecticides and fungicides. And
what about eating corn around here? What about eating corn from
Vermont?
Yeah, from a farmer.
If it's not conventional corn,
yeah,
if it is the old kind of corn,
all right, you gotta find that old kind of corn.
Country Gentleman or one of those things, that it's delicious, provided that you get it in time. I've heard stories of a friend whose mother would go out and pick corn for dinner and then run with the corn to the water that was already boiling, and they would get it into the boiling water as quickly as they possibly could, because it starts to lose its flavor and sweetness as soon as you pick it.
Yeah.
Unlike an avocado, which won't ripen until you pick it. Okay. We have sheep.
Yes.
And ABC News.
Yes. So, solar farms are booming in the U.S. and putting thousands of hungry sheep to work.
Yeah, the booming solar industry has found an unlikely mascot in sheep. In Texas, SB Energy operates the fifth largest solar project in the country with a capacity of 900 megawatts on 4,000 acres. 900 megawatts is a big solar farm. All that grass is managed with the help of about 3,000 sheep who love it.
Yes, they are an unlikely mascot.
They like to lie down in the shade of those solar panels, and somebody's got to cut that grass. You could get more solar panels into the same area if you didn't have it set up for growing grass. But
I told you earlier, I truly appreciate the name of the company that was started. The man mentioned in this article started a company called Texas Solar Sheep.
Yes.
It's funny. It's a funny name. That's all I can say. But sheep, there's a sheep situation going on now.
Right. And they're not all four-legged.
Well, well, we're getting to the other article about this too.
Okay.
So wait, I'm sorry. No, this is this article about this. So no, let's not go on. Sorry.
Okay.
I have a few notes here, which is I find just some of this stuff fascinating. Like, although some solar projects host goats or cattle, this is quoting from the Clean Tech Account. Goats have a tendency to climb on things.
Yes, they do.
And the large size of cattle can be an obstacle.
Yes.
That explains why sheep have emerged as the animal of choice in the rapidly expanding industry of solar grazing.
Yes.
And then, here we go. How do they manage all that grass? With the help of about 3,000 sheep, which are better suited than lawnmowers.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't need to put gas into them. You don't need to put electricity into them.
Those are all my statements about the sheep.
They just do it for you, and they don't want to be paid. That's the beauty of it. Okay.
That was my comment. Those are my sheep comments.
Okay. We're up to Monday, January 20th. We have a picture of a wind farm.
Yes,
and this particular wind farm is being repowered. This is from Clean Technica.
Yeah. GE Wind repowering scheme puts wind whiners to bed.
Wind repowering is one bright point in the wind industry, which is facing uncertain times as the incoming administration takes the reins of national energy policy. Instead of trying to build new wind farms from scratch, fighting political battles, old sites can be repowered. This is something that's been going on for quite a while, primarily in Europe, but they take a 100 megawatt wind farm and they take the old turbines down and put up new turbines, which in some cases are twice as the capacity. So they'll take a 100 megawatt farm, turn it into a 200 megawatt farm.
Honestly, this sounds like recycling nuclear rods.
Recycling? How?
Because, like, I wrote down as long as it's safe. Yeah. Because, right, what are the consequences of updating these old things?
Well, you're going to be tracking through the land doing that. But the other thing is you're going to wind up having if you have 100 megawatts of wind turbines, and they're two megawatt wind turbines, and you take that down, put in 4 megawatt wind turbines, then you've taken a 200 megawatt site and turned it into a 400 megawatt site, but you're left with 100 2 megawatt wind turbines, and what do you do with them? And there are answers to that because there's a big demand for. I read a story a number of years ago about a town in I think it was in the Netherlands, and the people decided that they wanted to run the town on renewable energy as much as they could. And they didn't have a lot of places to put solar panels, but they had a nice place for a wind turbine, which was just at the edge of town. So they went out and found a wind turbine that had been used and bought it for a quarter of the price or something like that and put it up at the edge of town. And they were remarkably satisfied. Okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we should go on.
Yeah.
This is Clean Technica. We have a picture. Oh.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. This is a Toyota Land Cruiser.
Yeah. So this headline here is Toyota promoted its hybrid while funding climate deniers.
Yeah. Thank you, Toyota. Toyota, the world's largest automaker, has a significant track record for funding climate deniers. Sorry, but it's true. Toyota Motor Corporation is opposed to the EV revolution, always has been. And it has become the largest funder of U.S. lawmakers who deny that there is a climate crisis.
And I say, glad that was my last Toyota.
My last car was a Toyota. It was a 2001 Prius.
Yeah. I mean, for me, Prius, hybrid. Yeah.
And I found that everybody was complaining that they couldn't get the advertised mileage on it. And I was getting well in excess of the advertised mileage.
Yeah.
So.
It depends on where you drive.
And how you drive.
Yes, how you drive.
Yeah,
yes.
But I would take back roads instead of the interstate because I'd want to operate at 40 miles an hour instead of 65.
And that's what's better for that car.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
we have an item from Clean Technica. That is an Air Wing hard sail by GT Wings, that thing that sticks up out of that ship.
Yeah. Wind energy to push dirty bunker fuel overboard, Trump or no Trump.
The U.S. oil industry may regret backing Trump. My prediction is it will. It will. Just like the coal workers, in 2016, he said Trump digs coal. What did he do to the coal industry? Well, 30% of the workers who were there when his term started lost their jobs during that term.
Yep.
Okay, the U.S. oil industry may regret backing Trump. Global decarbonization is still a force to be reckoned with. A case in point is the shipping industry, which is beginning to edge oil aside in favor of harvesting the wind energy resources right under their feet. Imagine that. Using the wind to power ships. What a weird idea.
What's a sailboat? Sailboats have never existed.
Yeah.
No.
There it is. Okay. Do you have anything on that?
I think I wrote wow. That was my reaction to that.
Okay. We have a picture of Donald Trump, and I feel like saying this. I think I will. Looking his age.
So, this is from Renews.
Yes.
And Trump halts offshore wind leasing and permitting.
U.S. President Donald Trump has put a temporary halt to offshore wind lease sales and paused permits for both onshore and offshore wind projects. Renewable energy companies have reacted with dismay after the president signed his wind energy executive order. So, what do you think of that?
I don't like Trump's mug on our screen, but it is.
Should I change it?
No, it's okay. But my reaction is we have more than dismay.
We have more than dismay. Yeah. Donald Trump, in my opinion, is pushing America's possible greatness onto China. That's what's happening here. The Chinese are so far ahead of us, and he's just going to put us farther behind.
Yes.
And,
that is correct. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. We have a picture of a South Coast wind And this is from Clean Technica, and it comments on the previous post.
Yeah. Louisiana aims to, this is the right one. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yes, okay. Louisiana aims to dominate U.S. offshore wind industry.
If President Trump carries through on his promise to blow up the offshore wind industry, public officials in the deep red state of Louisiana may be hoping they don't get hit by falling debris. Louisiana's leading role in the offshore wind industry surfaced during the Obama administration. And what they're doing is they're manufacturing all this stuff that's used in the United States wind industry. And if wind turbines are not being put in the United States, what happens to all of this investment and all of the people and so forth in Louisiana?
I mean, it's really, will the citizens and residents and folks who are civic minded, will they come to terms with reality?
I think some of them have,
Yeah, of course.
I mean, Cameron, Louisiana, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, had 3,000 people. I'm just saying 3,000, I don't remember, but it was 2,500, 3,500, something in there. And the last time I looked, they had fewer than 180. And that drop of 97% in the population happened as most of the houses got swept off their foundations by hurricanes. And Cameron, Louisiana, Cameron Parish was the one county in the United States that had the highest percentage of Trump voters. And they're just, the land is subsiding because the oil is being pumped out from under it, and the sea is rising. And he says the sea level rises 1/8 of an inch in 400 years or something. But I'm sorry, it's been like 18 inches already, and Cameron is so close to the sea that you have a storm surge and the place is underwater. So almost nobody lives there, and I don't know that anybody does anymore because the material that I saw was a few years old. Okay, our next item is from Clean Technica. We have a increase in CO2 levels, and I want to comment on this before we go on. This has me upset because the level should be going down. We knew by 2010 that we should be putting the level down, but it's going up faster as we go through years.
Yeah, well, this increase in carbon dioxide levels reached a record high in 2024.
According to Yale Environment 360, carbon dioxide is accumulating in the atmosphere faster than ever, putting hopes of limiting warming in jeopardy. The proof is the data from the Mauna Loa Observatory in Hawaii, which has been tracking the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere for 60 years.
Let's not talk about the elephant in the room. Wars are pretty bad for our air quality. Yeah. Wars are pretty bad. Industry is pretty bad. All this additional technological stuff with AI, crypto, all those mining, those things.
Bad.
And
they produce nothing.
They produce what we can already do. Artificial intelligence produces what we already have intelligence to do.
Yeah.
Right, so we don't need that.
Well, artificial intelligence is an area that has me rankled.
I'm sorry, I mean generative artificial intelligence. Yeah. I have to be specific here. Generative
but
artificial
intelligence. But it has me rankled because I have inventions in that field that have been patented and nobody's using them. And I can't say why because nobody said why. But they don't use a lot of electricity. In fact, one of the tests that I did was to take a dictionary that I had built of thousands of words, and I built a program that would go through the dictionary. It would take 2 words as input, and then it would go through the dictionary, finding every word that it could use and find the word that had, and the 2 words that I would use had some sort of relationship, and they would find every similar relationship. And I did car and small passenger plane, and the thing churned for a while, and it came up with the stuff that you would expect, like ambulance and air ambulance, bus and commuter airplane. And then it came up with a pair that was weird, and this is something that you have to look into. Lion and eagle. And I said, wait a minute, why lion and eagle? Why not lynx and eagle, or lion and bullfinch? Why would I get lion and eagle and no other mammal with no other ground living animal and bird combination? That's the only one. So I went through it and I found that the dictionary that I created knew that lion and eagle had a similarity that other pairs of animals didn't have, and that is they're both symbols of authority. I was fitting those definitions into 64 bits. This operation would take, in a 2 megahertz computer, in a 2 gigahertz computer, it would take 1 billionth of a second to do. Can artificial intelligence, the way it's been developed, do that anywhere near that fast? I would say my bet is that it would take several minutes.
But the other thing that we have to talk about here with this is consumption. And that's what I kind of tried to, what I mean is we are an overconsumption society, globe. We are not necessarily a whole globe. Not all of the globe is over-consuming.
Yeah,
but
there are a few people who live on the steppes of Mongolia who are not doing this.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of countries and lifestyles that don't involve as much of this as we do. I think about, I moved to Vermont from New York City. In New York City, all the office buildings, all the apartment buildings, their lights are on all the time.
Yes.
That they do not turn off.
Yes.
The amount of just electricity that's being used, that's just on all the time, is such a waste.
Yes, absolutely. It is a waste, and cryptocurrency is a really good example. Artificial intelligence is another. Cryptocurrency,
the mining,
uses a horrible amount of electricity. And the only thing that cryptocurrency is a proof that they have spent that much electricity finding that solution.
Yes.
In the course of doing that, they have done absolutely nothing for society. They've only given a few people the ability to game the system.
Yes.
And gaming the system is a big deal. Companies game the system. And that's what they do. And that's what cryptocurrency is. Mm-hmm. It's just certification that you have wasted electricity. And how does that provide health benefits or
Musk is also tied into this. Sorry to say.
Well,
you know, it's like you just that's what I mean is the folks, I know we're gonna, but the folks in this administration are just jokers, and that's one of the jokes is Dogecoin. That's one of his jokes, and that's where he enters this.
Elon Musk.
That's where Elon Musk enters this, which is he created by purchasing he created this whole, like, he lifted up and made it so, you know, a lot of that stuff could kind of increase or just in popularity.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to go on.
Yes.
We are up to Wednesday, January 22nd. We've got 5 minutes to do the last 3 articles. So
okay, we're going.
We have an article from Asian Power.
This one was interesting to me. China's renewable, I'm guessing RE sources to meet all new energy demand by 2025.
This year. This is important. As China further increases its renewable energy capacity, it is possible that it will meet all new electricity demands this year.
This year!
Now, we have a quote here. This paves the way for China's power sector to achieve peak emissions in 2025. And this is a quote from Greenpeace East Asia Beijing-based project lead Gao Yuhe. And so there you have it. That's from Asia Power.
Yeah.
And when China starts reducing its CO2 emissions, that's going to be important. We have another item, which is...
I just have one comment.
Please do it.
Okay. I'm just going to quote from this, which is potential from, again, from the same woman in Greenpeace East. The potential for renewable energy development in China by 2025 far exceeds its target, and the actual installed capacity will most likely surpass it, she noted.
I'm seeing that China has already achieved its goals for 2030. So, okay, next one.
Sheep.
In a field, Clean Technica.
There we go. We have sheep, again, as I said, sheep, to defend U.S. solar industry with agrivoltaic projects.
The U.S. kicked itself off the Paris Agreement and climate change again, but that doesn't necessarily mean a wet blanket was cast on the whole domestic solar industry. One development is a solar plus farming collaboration aimed at creating standards for the U.S. agrivoltaic projects. Got
Sheep.
more? Sheep. That's what it is. Sheep. Okay, we're up to the last item.
Yes, here we go.
And this is from Renews. That's a solar array in Poland, and it's big.
Yeah. Qualitas Energy bags 117 megawatt solar portfolio.
Qualitas Energy has acquired a 117 megawatt solar portfolio in Poland from international renewable energy developer Vogt. Now, I can't tell you what Vogt means because I don't know. It's German.
Something, maybe. Yeah. Vote?
I don't know. The portfolio consists of 2 solar farms, both of which are in a, quote, ready to build, end quote, phase, with construction scheduled to begin in the second and third quarters of 2025.
Okay.
More to say on that?
Honestly, no. Just...
Wow.
I wrote a check mark. That's what I did. I just checked that one off. Check.
That's okay.
Check.
We're going to wish everybody an enviably superb week.
Yes.
There you go. There it is. Nancy's putting that up just to prove that I wasn't fibbing.
An enviably superb week. Yes.
Yeah. And so we'll wave goodbye and hope that you come back next time.
Yes.
We'll be here.
We'll be here.
Hope.